Forget gurus. Forget anyone claiming to be an online business expert without going through the challenges of entrepreneurship themselves. The Real Money, Real Business podcast is here to prove the best insights in online business comes from your fellow online business builders. We dig into stories of entrepreneurs selling their business on the Empire Flippers marketplace so that you can learn how they made their business profitable, how they overcame obstacles, and what lessons they learned in their online journey. If you want to take your business and your knowledge to the next level, you've come to the right podcast. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, Branden here with another great business to discuss on this episode of the Real Money, Real Business podcast. Today's guest is Justin, and he's selling his SaaS business on the Empire Flippers marketplace. So welcome to the show, Justin, and how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Branden. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's really nice to have you on the call today, and I'm excited to speak to you about this business you've created. But before we go into the details, let's give a general overview of the business. So it is a SaaS business in the business niche created in October 2009. The average monthly revenue for the business is $9,649 and makes an average of $7,282 per month in net profit. For everyone listening, you can visit empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing 48205 to learn more about the business, or you can unlock this listing to start your due diligence if you're interested in purchasing this asset. So now that I've given a general overview of the business, what's included in the sale is the application code base and GitHub repository, 2 domains and all of the site's content and files, 3 additional domains, 2 used as 301 redirects and 1 domain name only, an email list with over 1,226 subscribers stored in MailChimp, social media accounts for Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and a Zendesk account for the help desk. So Justin, can you tell us a little bit about your background in building and running online businesses?
Yeah, I actually surprisingly started out as an officer in the Navy on board nuclear submarines, where I served for 5 years and spent a lot of time underwater, which has nothing to do with business, but a lot to do with leadership and management. And then went to Stanford Business School, where I earned my MBA. And that was honestly the first time where I heard about startups, and I heard about the thought that you could find a problem that you could solve with technology and that you could really build your own business rather than joining an existing company. And so back in 2009, when I graduated, I had this idea for my company and started it, and was fortunate to pick up funding from Google's chairman, Eric Schmidt, and a few other investors, and started this marketing technology company. And was, excited to have over 35 Fortune 500 brands using it. Inc. magazine wrote an article about our technology. Facebook did a case study in our technology. And really just through the process of working with a lot of great brands, continued to evolve the technology to solve more and more pain points across marketing.
Yeah, that's really amazing that you were able to captivate that audience in such a large profile. And we'll get into a little bit more details on some of the marketing and the PR aspects of the business. But I'm curious, so how does the business primarily make money through the SaaS business model? Is it all coming through subscriptions, or are there renewal subscriptions kind of involved with the business model itself?
So there's 2 different parts of our business model, but both of them are subscription. And so the first one is we have a self-service version of our platform. And so right now from our website, someone can sign up for a free trial where they get to actually use the technology for 3 weeks, see how it works for them, and then convert over automatically into a paying month-to-month subscription. And that's just been nice from, not having to have a lot of hands in the business. You can sit back and have people sign up, use the technology, and become customers without you ever having to speak with them. And that's where you had mentioned Zendesk previously. We've got a really robust library of videos and resources so people can answer their questions and continue to use the technology. The second part of the business model is more enterprise. And because we've been around for over 10 years, because we have so many case studies with great brands, we continue to get a lot of inbound interest without any marketing or advertising expenditure. So recently, a Fortune 1000 company filled out our Contact Us form. And when I saw that it was a company of sufficient scale, reached out to them and they signed a larger recurring subscription contract. And for those enterprise calls, generally that's over $1,000 a month in revenue. For those sorts of clients, we'll hop on a call with them, learn more about what they're launching, and take them more through a demo. So there is more touch points there compared to the self-service, but both of them are just monthly recurring revenue.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense in this business model as well. And if things are doing so great at this time, Justin, why is it that you've decided you'd like to sell the business?
So I've been at it for over 12 years. Honestly, about 3-4 years ago is when I started a different company and started to put my effort and attention there. And so the company's been doing great completely without my direct involvement, for which I've been very grateful. It's taken very little time for me to oversee, to keep our clients happy, to respond to inbounds as they come in, but really haven't invested heavily in the business in about 4 years now. And I actually recently heard about Empire Flippers and realized, well, this company has been great for me. It's been a great source of recurring revenue that hasn't required any attention. But what I realized is it's a really good horse in need of a better jockey, someone who can drive growth, someone who could actually take it further than I have. And, I wish I would have heard about you guys years and years ago, but it's a great business for someone who either doesn't want to have to do a lot, or it's an even better business if someone wanted to come and invest a little time and energy, put any resources towards advertising or marketing. There's a lot that can be done for it and a very rich history to capitalize on for the right buyer.
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen this foundation that you've built with this business and really does, offer that great baton for you to hand off to the next buyer, the owner, and really give them that foundation needed to scale the business even further. Now, was there anything that you learned while growing this business that you plan on applying to your future businesses or maybe even current projects down the road?
Absolutely. The company that I started that I now spend the majority of my time on, the insight for it came about from my work with our customers. Because, one of the things I really like is that as clients send feedback or as I'm able to interact with them and hear their thoughts on their other pain points in marketing, we're able to build those features. And so one of our particular clients directly led to me starting this second business, but it's all just, harnessed from the feedback of the people using our technology and just being curious about what else are they doing? Where else are they experiencing pain points? Where else could we potentially build to solve those pain points?
Yeah, it gives you a lot of insight when you're able to have that customer interaction, performing more on a customer service side of the business compared to maybe some of the other monetizations where they're not getting much customer feedback directly. So it's really great to hear that you've been able to kind of gain some insider knowledge from those experiences. And I'm curious, was there anything that you tried with this business and it just didn't give you the ROI that you were expecting?
In our earlier days, we're partnering with agencies, and the idea there was that agencies are always looking for new technologies. They're looking for new things to put in front of their clients. Whether that was our approach or whether that's just agencies in general, we found that channel to be the least lucrative for us. It took a lot of time and attention to cultivate relationships, to keep them alive. It usually involved frequent trips to New York and to see these people face to face and do lunch and learns. But it never really panned out in the way that our direct sales and content marketing strategy did pay off. And so we just focused more on direct outreach to the type of companies that would use our technology and found that was better than focusing on partnerships that never really led to scale for us.
Okay. So you kind of discovered which avenues were working the best for the business and decided to primarily focus on those versus maybe venturing out into other third-party services, correct?
Exactly.
Gotcha. Now, are you doing anything else in terms of marketing? I noticed on your listing page, it shows that you have a large portion of organic search traffic coming into the business. Does that mean you're producing content for this software itself on a regular basis, or are you maybe doing more marketing on the social media side of the accounts?
No, I feel embarrassed to say it, but honestly, if someone looks at our history for the last 3 years, we've not really been investing in any way, shape, or form in advertising or marketing. And yet we get continuously, every single month, we get companies and ones that I guarantee that listeners have heard of reaching out to us because, like I said, we've been around for over 10 years. There's very few companies that have the deep level of expertise and the breadth of technology that we have. We have so many different case studies with Levi's and Facebook and Disney and Microsoft and IBM. And so the great thing about searchability is that those enduring assets are out there. They're directing traffic to us. And so, I feel grateful that with no effort whatsoever, we continue to get people reaching out about our technology.
Yeah, that's amazing that you're just naturally gaining that. I guess you could call it referral traffic as well. But yeah, just getting the referrals and also the organic search coming into your business and your software. And it's great that it provides a solution for these larger established companies to just even bring more awareness and reputation to the product itself. So that's really great to see. Now, hypothetically speaking, Justin, if you were to keep this business, what are some of the ways that you would personally try and grow it?
I think that with the fertile field that we've built, it just takes a little bit of attention and unfortunately time that I don't have right now, but little things that you're already pointing to, just basic things on posting regularly on social media. It's been a long time since we've done direct sales outreach, but we have a really good view of our ideal customer persona. So it'd be very simple with any sales background to do some basic outreach to companies similar to we have case studies with and just talking about, hey, this is how you could deploy this. This is how literally one of your competitors has used us. You should use this too. I think that there's also a lot of room here for PR and publicity around the work that we're doing. We still have great clients and just chronicling what they're doing. And then I think that, if I were reinvesting in the business, I would talk to customers and talk about what they're needing more of. There's certainly room to expand our technology or deepen it or solve comparable pain points. There's a lot of room to expand within the accounts that we already have. So that's why, with this, I think that it's exciting for someone who's just looking for recurring revenue that's turnkey. There's certainly that potential here. But personally, someone who's built this business over 10 years, what excites me is someone who is hungry, someone who has a fresh perspective, someone who can take, like you said, the baton and take it further. There's so much potential for this. And I'm sad that, after this amount of time, I don't have the energy or focus to devote to it. But anyone who is a savvy, hungry business person, there is a lot of potential to take this further and scale it in a way that I just haven't had the capacity to do in a long time.
Yeah, very well said. It's kind of that feeling like you wish you could put more into the business, but really ultimately like passing the baton on and letting someone else scale the business to their full potential would really, benefit the business in general, over that. I'm curious. So you mentioned you've done some direct outreach to some of these larger companies to offer your service and the software that you provide. Can you walk us through maybe some of the typical weekly or maybe even daily tasks that you're performing on the business now?
Since I'm just in a maintenance mode, all I do on a daily basis is I monitor Zendesk, which we use with our clients, just to see if there's any new needs from people needing their response. And that could easily be offloaded, to a virtual assistant or assistant of any sort. And then I also just monitor the email account for the 2 different properties that we run. Usually it requires, 30 minutes every other week. When we get inbounds, I'm basically just checking to see, is this truly an enterprise client? I'm looking at their head count. I'm looking at their site traffic and social presence. If it's someone small, I usually just send them mostly a forum response, encouraging them to sign up for the self-service platform. But in the event that it is a larger company with a larger budget or a bigger opportunity, I'll actually schedule that call, in which case it will take an extra 30 minutes to do a quick exploratory call to see. But that's what's led to larger deals for us. And you never know the type of company that might actually have the budget for a much bigger product offering.
Okay. Now, do you feel that there's any particular skill set that a buyer should have prior to acquiring this business? Or do you feel that majority of the workload can be learned during the transition period?
I certainly think anyone that has a good business sense could do well here. I think the ideal for me would be someone who has worked with software before, software as a service. I think that's certainly provides an advantage in understanding the language to be used in marketing and sales, the mindset of the buyer, which is different than services or physical products for sure. And then I think that anyone who has either knowledge or appetite to have a knowledge around social media, marketing, or sales, I just think that the product is great and the amount of resources and case studies and referenceability is exceptional. So if someone has the savvy to put into marketing or into sales, I think they can make a killing. It's just, you've got a good vehicle to put to use. Can you properly go after the right leads? Can you properly build awareness? Because that's something that I've lapsed for quite a while now.
Okay. So that's a great projection and maybe even just some foresight into what would really benefit the business long-term wise. And I'm sure our listeners, maybe potential buyers out there that are doing their due diligence on this listing can also see the value in that and maybe even the potential it offers if their core skill set happens to be based around that. Now, what do you feel are maybe some of the potential risks associated with this business that a buyer should be aware of?
I think anytime you're dealing with technology, I actually take that back. I was going to say disruption, but I think even non-tech businesses have been disrupted by technology. So I think that, the one thing with technology is maintaining it over time and adapting to shifting trends with marketing. And so a risk would be if someone's not paying attention to those trends or if someone's not cultivating the messaging of the technology and its application to a wide variety of pain points. I don't know if there's a direct risk from competition because we touch on so many different areas of marketing that there's not too many direct competitors. But I suppose there's always the risk that someone new comes in with a more innovative approach to solving the problems that we address. Yeah, I think those are the two biggest risks. I think when you have a company that's been around for over 10 years, we've kind of seen every potential risk and threat and all of those things and weathered so many different storms that I think that we've built up systems and processes that have made it such an enduring asset. So I think that significantly de-risks it.
Yeah, very well said. Having that time and also being in the market, a well-known brand, and you have the reputation, obviously, with these bigger companies that you're working with, it's kind of sets you apart already in itself. Now, are you willing to commit to a non-compete, meaning for the next 2 years, you'll stay out of this specific niche moving forward?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, anyone listening who has spent the amount of time I have building this business, it is still like a child. And so I want to see it succeed. I want to support whoever buys the business and taking it as far as they can. And, with anyone who goes through the process with Empire Flippers, I'm happy to disclose what I'm working on. The business I currently run is extremely non-competitive with this business. And that's where all of my focus is. And so happy to share more about my own business plans, but there's no world in which I end up competing in this space.
Okay, that's really great to hear. And how much support are you willing to offer potential buyers? Are you going with the typical 30 days of email and Skype support, or did you have something in addition that you would like to add on to that?
I think it's based on the person. Ideally, I find someone who is as passionate about this as I am and sees the potential here. And, for the right person, happy to be an ongoing resource of answering questions that come up. The thing that I found is that in having done this for 10 years, I've got such a Rolodex of case studies and lessons learned and things that I've tried and things that have failed, things that work. And so, I really enjoy mentoring other entrepreneurs and certainly would learn from someone else who has more experience than me. But I'm always happy to, after that 30 days, I know questions come up. I know that there's only so much you can learn in that amount of time. And so I always love talking about this, and I would be happy to share with the right person. Oh, we tried that. This is what we learned. Certainly you can try it too. But I get energized hearing that fresh perspective and hearing someone's new thoughts. And, speaking selfishly, every time I talk to another business person, I take away something that I can apply to my other business. And so I'm sure as I talk to this new buyer and they, share an idea or a question or whatever, that might spark an idea that I never would have thought to try for the main business that I focus on now. So I always find it rewarding and happy to provide ongoing support and mentorship or advisorship or whatever would make sense to answer those questions that come up, well after those 30 days.
Yeah, that's really amazing to hear. And I'm sure our potential buyers can also really see the value in that as well, and that added support. And, even just as you had mentioned, like bouncing those ideas off of one another. That's what I enjoy so much about speaking with other online entrepreneurs as well myself, is being able to gain those ideas or maybe those outside perceptions that you might not have thought of, originally. Now, Justin, are you open to negotiating something like an earnout for this business where you'll receive a large portion of the sales price up front and in smaller payments closing out the deal, say, over the course of a couple months after that?
Yeah, I think that we've got a great offering, and I'm just a big believer in let the market dictate what things should be. And so I imagine I've seen already, interest in this, and I imagine that there'll be a lot of people where this would be a good fit. So ultimately, it just boils down to the right person and the best terms, but open to a variety of processes forward.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And that's always something that can be discussed during the negotiations. And when that time comes, it's always good to hear that you're open to this idea. Now, just a few more sideline questions for you, Justin. So what advice would you give to our listeners that you wish you knew when you first started this business?
I'll say a couple things on that. The first one is love your customers more than your product. Very early on in our journey, we were focused in one direction and continually got feedback from our customers that they wanted something that was in a different direction. And we didn't listen to that feedback for about a year. And a company came in focusing on that and did really well and really took away a lot of our business. And so that was early on my entrepreneurial journey, but I've always held this saying that, you need to love your customers more than your product. If your customers are telling you they need something, listen to that and build that, or find a way to support them, or partner with someone where you can have referral, like find a way to meet that need. And I'm happy to say that, I was able to apply that in our company's growth and learn from that. But it was a painful lesson at the time. I think the second thing is patience. I just personally see a lot of messaging on social media and in popular media about hacks, about get rich quick, about hustling, about things like that. And I think that there's a certain amount of truth in each of those. And I think, with exercise, 10 minutes of exercise a day for a year is better than running a marathon one day. And with investing, we've all seen it, right? If you're investing month in and month out to your Roth IRA or whatever you're investing in, that will make you a millionaire versus buying the right lottery ticket. And I just run into a lot of entrepreneurs that have great short-term bursts of energy, but they don't have the stamina to build a business as a skill of listening, seeing what others are doing, learning wherever you can, making mistakes that are messy and public and learning from them and growing. Those are the entrepreneurs that I admire. That's the type of entrepreneur I aspire to be. Is I'm not in this for a quick flip. I'm in this to build a company of value, a resource that endures. And I am proud to say that, our company has been around for over 10 years. Like very few entities can say that. But I believe it's because we've taken this long view approach of how can we build something that endures? How can we build something that's greater than us? And that's the second piece of advice I'd give.
Yeah, amazing advice. Yeah, I couldn't mention anything better. That's really great that you were thinking in the long term, not just thinking for that short, quick buck, because there's quite a few businesses that they'll get started and they end just as soon as they get started, just because they don't really think of the long-term approach and building an addressable audience versus just a, targeted audience for a quick buck. So that's amazing advice. And I'm sure our listeners will gain a lot of value in that as well. And also just curious, was there any software or maybe tools that really helped you while managing this business over the 10 years of growing it?
I know that in some ways Zendesk feels outdated, but I think it's served us well in terms of just having a central repository that, one of the things I liked about Zendesk is I could have anyone that I trained from anywhere in the world log in and answer questions. And I could set up FAQs for them to be able to answer them. And we can categorize, so we can say, oh man, a lot of people are asking about this particular aspect of our platform. Maybe we should invest in building it better. So I do like it. I'm sure there's other options, but it's served us well. We've probably used them for over 5-6 years now. I'm trying to think of any other tools that work well. Actually, one product that we use that I really like is called Customer.io. I've run a tech company for over a decade, but I'm not by any stretch a developer. One of the things I liked about for Customer.io is that once our developers had integrated with it, I could log in and as a non-developer, handle our automated email messages. Things like saying, hey, when someone signs up, 5 days later, if they haven't logged in, send them this mail. And it's just very intuitive for me to go in and come up with this and experiment and measure and see what's working. And something that I'd invest more time in if I had it is looking at that and saying, okay, what are the touch points? What are the features that I should send a note to someone? When should I check in? How long after? There's so much there. And Customer.io has done such a great job of making a user interface that anyone can use. And so I've really appreciated using that.
Yeah, it's amazing when you find that right tool or the right resource to really help you and take your hands off of the wheel, I guess you could say, in a sense, and make things a little bit more automated. It only makes, the business run that much more smoother, but also, that much more desirable as well. So that's really great to hear you had that experience in finding that software. And I'm sure our listeners will gain some value in researching that tool as well themselves. Now, final question for you, Justin. So putting yourself in the shoes of a buyer, why do you feel that your business is worth buying?
Oh man, this is you're asking me to say why my 2-year-old son is the cutest boy on earth. I think a couple things stand out. The first one is I love that when I do hop on a sales call, I'm able to say, you're not trying out a bike that no one's used before. The best brands in the world, and I can show them case studies, I can show them examples, I can point to them and say oh, what you're wanting to do is what we did with IBM. Facebook actually selected us and wrote a case study about us. Oh, TechCrunch selected us for this reason. Oh, Inc. Magazine wrote this 2-page article. Let me send that to you. It's just so nice to have something that is proven where you're not asking someone to take a risk. You're actually pointing to the brands that they aspire to be and saying, yeah, they've used us. They've kicked the tires on us. We were good enough for them. We're good enough for you. And I think that, there's so many companies that I envy and admire that are started in the last year or two, that they're great. That's really hard to do that. But to be a technology and a company that has 10 years of history, 10 years of being able to point to lessons learned and examples and references, it's pretty rare. And that's oftentimes the biggest risk in any new venture is, will this work? Will anyone use it? And so, like I said, there's a buyer out there that's just looking to do what I've done, which is just generate income for no work for a long time. And I think that's great. But I'm really hoping that there is a buyer out there who is hungry, who's eager to learn and make mistakes and grow and apply them and try things I never thought of and take approaches that I never dreamed of. For the right person, you have got a long, clear runway to experiment. And I look forward to years from now telling my friends, look at that company. I sold it to this person. They did something I never thought of. And yeah, they made 100 times more money than I did, but I'm cheering them on because they took this great asset and made it even greater. That's the thing that I would love to see.
Yeah, that's really amazing. And I'm sure all of our listeners and potential buyers that are doing their due diligence on this business can also see the effort and, the sweat equity you put into growing this business and creating that foundation for them, the platform ultimately to help them reach new heights. And as you had mentioned, maybe even try things that you might not have thought at the time and really maybe be really successful with this as well too, in trying these new avenues. And that pretty much wraps up this call, Justin. Was there anything else that you'd like to share about your business that I might have missed?
I think we covered all the bases here. I really appreciate your chronicling this. Happy to talk in more detail about it with people who are interested. I'm a big fan of what you're doing with Empire Flippers. I think it's such a great idea in marketplace. And I think that what we're offering here is pretty unique in terms of the credibility, the long tenure of the company, the referenceable case studies and brands, the deep technology. I think that there's things that might surprise your average buyer and would welcome that conversation to go into more detail.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm also interested and also excited to see how many buyers are also interested in this business because it is a really great foundation, as I had mentioned, that you've set up for them. And yeah, thanks again for jumping on the call with us today, Justin. I'm sure all of our listeners got a lot of value in hearing your story and how you grew this business to the scale it has over the last 10 years and looking forward to seeing this listing getting sold for you here in the near future.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Justin. And all right, everyone. So thanks for listening. To learn more and to see if this listing has already been sold, head over to empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing number 48205. If you're watching this on YouTube, click the link in the description to go straight to the listing. And once you've unlocked this listing, you'll be given everything you need to know about this business. So until next time, enjoy your digital journey.